Today I'm visiting Guernsey Lake State Forest Campground. Guernsey Lake State Forest Campground is located in Michigan's Lower Peninsula, just a short drive to the west of Kalkaska, Michigan. Just before reaching the campground registration station, you have a pull-off parking area to stage your vehicle for hiking on the North Country National Scenic Trail that runs through the Guernsey Lake State Forest Campground. I decided to park here and walk into the campground, and as you can see, there's a few little flies flying around. The flies aren't bad enough here to deter anybody from camping by any means, but you should be prepared with some bug spray when you come to any of the campgrounds here in Michigan, no matter what time of the year. As I travel down the road here, I come up to another hiking trail that comes off of the main drive, and it's definitely worth noting that more than just the North Country Trail are here in the area for hiking. You have the Muncie Lake Pathway, the Vasa Pathway, and the Sand Lake Quiet Area Pathway. With all of these different hiking trail options, this is definitely a great place to come and stay the night if you're looking to get out and venture a few miles down some amazingly maintained different trail systems. As I approach the campground registration station, it's important to point out, in case you're unfamiliar with this campground, that if you take the road to the left, you're going to go down to one branch of the campground, and if you take the road to the right, it's a totally different campground area. So I didn't realize, having even been here before, that this campground had two separate parts to it until I was getting ready to leave the campground and just happened to venture down the other direction. The Guernsey Lake State Forest Campground offers 35 campsites. 8 of these campsites are walk-in campsites that are definitely for tent use only. These are probably designated and set aside with the idea that they'd be mostly used by campers that are here backpacking and hiking down the trail systems, not by people just pulling up, parking, and hiking into their camping site. You can tell just by the way the campground is laid out that this is a really nice, quiet state forest campground to stay at. It does sit on Guernsey Lake, and you have boat access on the other side of the campground to put your boat in if you are looking to go out and do some fishing. Guernsey Lake is about 50 acres inside with a maximum depth of just over 60 feet deep, and the fishing here is supposedly pretty good. This would be a great spot to go out and try fishing if you're looking to get some largemouth bass, some panfish, bluegill, some yellow perch, and maybe even some brown trout. As you can see, there's been a couple different sets of outhouses throughout the campground so far, and this is just one side of the campground. For what it's worth, I couldn't smell these outhouses from any direction here in the campground. They seem to be pretty well maintained and didn't put off any odor. I'm gonna take the path less traveled here and go down this old footpath that leads down to the lake. And we're gonna take a quick look at Guernsey Lake, where there happen to be a few people sitting along the shore here relaxing, and one boat way out there in the distance doing some fishing. I don't want to disturb these people too much that are down here trying to relax along the beach, so we're gonna move through here quietly and get out of their way so they can go back to enjoying the peace and quiet and the views of that beautiful sky in the background. Down here by the lake is some hiker information and a boot brush to scrub little invasive seeds off your boots before you take off on the North Country Trail that is just down here a short ways from the boat launch area, where there's also another outhouse. This boat launch area here has enough parking for probably 8 or 9 different vehicles with trailers. It's definitely plenty big enough for what I would expect this lake to get for boat traffic. And as I was heading back from the boat launch area to my vehicle, this is where I made the discovery that there's another part of the campground down this little short hike of a road. And after I get down this road just a bit, I come up to a couple more outhouses, and that's when I knew that there was something more going on here. I didn't know it at the time. I thought this was just a regular parking area for visiting the campground here, but it actually turns out that this is a parking area if you are parking a vehicle and using the walk-in campsites. We'll have to come back to these walk-in campsites because I didn't realize that these walk-in sites were here until the very end of my visit. For now, we're going to continue on down the road and check out the campsites that are down in this loop of the campground. Something about this side of the campground makes it seem like it's much quieter and more secluded than the other end. I don't know if it's because there's a couple less sites or if it's because it's not so close to the boat launch. Not quite sure what it is, but I do think that if I ever came to this campground and stayed the night, it would definitely be here on this side of the campground. Something about it just seems nicer. On my way back through, I did realize that there are the walk-in sites, and I'm coming down the trail here to check them out. It is also interesting that the only hand pump that was working for water, to pump any water here at the campground, was down here not too far from these walk-in sites. As I walk through the last of the walk-in sites here and get ready to leave this campground, I just want to say how much I really like the layout of this campground and what it has to offer for a nice, quiet, peaceful retreat. This little state forest campground nestled in the upper part of Michigan's Lower Peninsula definitely gives the impression of quiet and tranquility. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please consider liking and subscribing. And stay tuned because I have several more videos of State Forest Campground in the area that'll be coming out within the weeks to come.